Okay, so you can see my setup here with the model on the left and then my paper to the right. And then I'm starting off with little tick marks. And these tick marks, you can see one right there. Those tick marks are to indicate the height of the head and the width. And I'm also measuring like her bangs compared to her face. So when I say measure, I actually take my pencil and pinch it off. Right there, I'm sighting the angle, so I'm doing an angular transfer to get the side of the face at that particular angle. You'll watch me just drop that line straight down. And this is a gesture. A gesture is a light, loose sketch with nothing concrete. So just want to remind you guys, when you're doing this step of the drawing, you have to go super light. In fact, what I'm doing there is I'm actually drawing with my blender. Now, at some point, it becomes so light that I can barely see it, and then I switch back to the pencil. But you do have some material probably already on your blender, and you can use that for starting out. Because remember, heavy outlines equals a flat form, and a form is just a 3D object, and the face is definitely three-dimensional. So I'm getting in the chin there. Again, I'm just drawing the outer edge of the face, and I'm also going to draw the face itself as it's framed by the hair. And you can choose whichever model you want, or you can go searching for one, or perhaps use a photo that you have at home of somebody you actually know. And this is kind of a rough sketch to just get the generalization of the basic outline. And I do recommend that you take your time in this step. It is really hard to do a 3/4 drawing, or the face in 3/4. So take your time. I'm trying to figure out the placement of the bangs, and like I said, I'm making adjustments as I go because I don't get it right usually the first time. I have to adjust my stroke or move something or shift something around, and I want that capability. I want that option to be able to move things. And again, so light that you're barely touching the paper here. Those of you who like to press hard, I'm really going to recommend that you ease off your pressure, that you barely put any pressure to your pencil point. And you can see I'm kind of holding my pencil sideways, and I'm going to the end of the pencil when I work. That's how you get a lighter, sensitive line. So that's the face there-ish, and I'm going to frame it out with the hair. And you have to realize that you're going to see more of the back of the head on one side than on the other. In this case, it'll be to the left. And I'm softening some of my lines with my blending stump a little bit. So you might want to try that. You don't have to draw with your blending stump, but I'm using it to get a lighter outline so it's not so heavy. Kind of sculpting that cheek there, bringing that cheek in a little bit as I go, as I compare to the photo. Now that's one thing that I'm always doing. I'm looking back and forth between my reference paper, just trying to make sure I'm documenting it correctly. So this is her hair to the right side that I'm getting in the chunk of hair. Again, this too is also not set in stone. I can move things still. Her hair helps to give her some personality, so I'm going to need to make sure that I get the hair in the right position. Getting the top of the head there. And you do kind of want to keep in mind the idea of the head as a skull, because that'll help you when you're doing the outline. That's the bottom of her hair there at an angle. And just realize that the neck is most likely not going to be in the middle of the face. In this case, her neck is kind of angled to the side, and I look at where that neck ties in to the chin there in front. And again, I'm holding my pencil really loose. In fact, that's how I would hold a brush too. So if I were going to paint this, I would be holding my brush the same way. And I'm going to do a little mark for eyebrows. One thing I wanted to mention about the features is that if one of the features is tilted, then they all are tilted the same degree. And she does have a slight tilt where that left eye is slightly higher, and there you can see it again with the ruler, than the right. It's also a little bit more angled. So is the other eye. It's kind of they're both kind of angled pointing in or slanted a little bit. So just be perceptive of that. So if the eyes are at an angle, the nose is going to be at the same angle, as will the line between the two lips. So I'm just going to make sure that whatever the eyes are pitched at, angle-wise, that the nose and mouth relate. If they're all three of those are horizontal, then by all means leave them horizontal. So you can see I put in a little line for the nose and for the mouth. And just want to remind you to find the mouth. You divide from the bottom of the nose to the chin into thirds, and then the middle of the mouth is going to be near that top third. I do advise that you start to draw the shoulders on the person. If they have a shirt or a jacket on or some kind of clothing, you'd want to loosely describe that too. And remember, with these kinds of drawings, it's up to you if you want to give detail to their shoulders or the clothing. For me personally, I like to leave it without too much detail. So I'll just leave it as a rough kind of sketch and allow all the detail to go to the face and hair. So every artist has their preference, but that's mine, and you're welcome to do that too. So I'm getting the collar of her shirt there, and I'm going to describe a little bit of her shoulders. Where it crops off the picture, I'm just going to let the drawing fade out there. So I'm not going to try and imagine stuff that I can't see. I'm just going to let it fade into the gray of the paper. It doesn't need to be expressed if it's not in the picture. I'm just checking there how the shoulder correlates to the placement of the face if I were to do a plumb line. So if I were to draw a plumb line there, how would it relate to the cheekbone? Remember, we've talked a lot about plumb lines. They're a vertical line that goes straight down, and it can be really helpful in aligning things up. So I'm just going to draw that line there to help me figure out how far out does that shoulder go. I'm time-lapsing this last part so you can just see what I'm doing before you get ready to turn in your drawing too. That this is a very light, almost like a ghost image, barely there. All I have is little lines indicating the eyes and nose, the line between the two lips or the middle of the mouth. And here's what it looks like so far. You can see I'm doing an angular transfer there, angular transfer on the back. You have to make sure that your elbow is locked, so your elbow is straight when you're doing an angular transfer if you want to try it. It's a really good skill to have. All right, so basically that's what it looks like at this stage, and there I'm measuring it. It's about 8 inches in height by 7 across, but yours might be different if you're doing a different person. So do it life size on the gray sheet of paper.